The rain hammered against the windows of our small cottage in the Cotswolds, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For 20 years, Alaric, a 46-year-old software engineer, had built a life with my wife, Bronte. We met in university, two bright-eyed kids with dreams of a future filled with love and laughter. We bought this quaint little house, adopted a golden retriever named Barnaby, and settled into a comfortable routine. Or so I thought. First crack appeared subtly, a barely noticeable tremor in the foundation of our seemingly perfect world. Bronte, always meticulous about her appearance, started spending an unusual amount of time getting ready in the mornings. New clothes appeared in her wardrobe, expensive dresses and elegant blouses that were far removed from her usual casual style. When I complimented her, she'd brush it off with a nervous laugh, saying she just felt like treating herself. Then came the late nights at work. Bronte worked as a marketing manager for a local publishing house, a job she generally enjoyed. But suddenly she was constantly stuck late, attending urgent meetings and last-minute deadlines. I'd call her, and she'd answer with a rushed, breathless voice promising to be home soon. But soon often stretched into hours, and I'd find myself eating dinner alone, Barnaby's mournful eyes the only company I had. I tried to talk to her to ask if everything was all right, but she'd become distant, evasive. "I'm just stressed, Alaric," she'd say, her eyes darting away from mine. "Work is crazy right now. Can we just not talk about it?" I wanted to believe her. I desperately wanted to believe that the woman I loved, the woman I had shared my life with for 2 decades, wouldn't lie to me. But the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach wouldn't go away. It was a cold, creeping dread that whispered of betrayal and deceit. The final straw came one Tuesday evening. Bronte had told me she had a conference in Bristol and wouldn't be home until late the next day. I was planning a quiet evening in, maybe watch a movie and catch up on some reading. But around 9 p.m., I received a text message from an unknown number. It was a picture, a grainy, blurry image, but unmistakably Bronte. She was sitting at a candle-lit table in a restaurant, her hand intertwined with another man's. The man's face was obscured, but I could see the expensive watch on his wrist, the tailored suit he was wearing. It was clear this wasn't just a friendly dinner. My world shattered. The air seemed to thicken, making it hard to breathe. My hands trembled as I stared at the picture, the image seared into my brain. Bronte, my Bronte, with another man. I didn't sleep that night. I paced the floor, replaying every moment of the past few months, searching for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. The late nights, the new clothes, the distant demeanor, it all clicked into place, forming a horrifying picture of betrayal. When Bronte finally came home the next evening, she looked tired but composed. "How was the conference?" I asked, my voice betraying none of the turmoil inside me. "It was fine," she said, shrugging. "Long and boring, but fine." I pulled out my phone and showed her the picture. Her face drained of color. What is this?" she stammered. "Don't play dumb, Bronte," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "I know what you've been up to." She started to cry, the tears streaming down her face. "Alaric, I can explain." "Explain what?" I roared, my anger finally erupting. "Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could throw away 20 years of our life for some fling." She sobbed, begging for forgiveness, claiming it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. But her words were hollow, meaningless. The trust was broken, shattered beyond repair. I spent the next few weeks in a daze, going through the motions of life while feeling completely numb inside. I contacted a solicitor, started the divorce proceedings. Bronte moved out, taking only a few personal belongings. The house felt empty, cold, devoid of the warmth and laughter that had once filled it. I learned the identity of the man in the picture. His name was Crispin, a wealthy businessman who owned a chain of hotels in the area. He was married too, with 2 children. The affair had been going on for months, a clandestine rendezvous fueled by lust and opportunity. The anger I felt towards Bronte was immense, but it was nothing compared to the contempt I felt for Crispin. He had knowingly broken up a marriage, destroyed a family. He had acted with complete disregard for the pain and suffering he was causing. I decided I couldn't let him get away with it. I needed to make him pay for what he had done. I started digging into his life, searching for any dirt I could find. It didn't take long. Crispin's business empire was built on a foundation of shady deals and unethical practices. He had been cutting corners, evading taxes, and exploiting his employees for years. I gathered all the evidence I could find, documents, emails, testimonies, and compiled it into a detailed report. Then I sent it to the authorities. The tax office, the labor department, the local newspaper, everyone who needed to know about Crispin's illegal activities received a copy of my report. The fallout was swift and devastating. Crispin's business empire crumbled. He was facing multiple investigations, lawsuits, and public scrutiny. His reputation was ruined, his wealth diminished. He had lost everything. I didn't feel any satisfaction, though. Revenge, I discovered, was a hollow victory. It didn't bring Bronte back. It didn't erase the pain of her betrayal. It just left me feeling empty and exhausted. I decided I needed a change. I sold the cottage in the Cotswolds and moved to a small coastal town in Cornwall. I quit my job and started working as a freelance software developer, taking on projects that interested me, setting my own hours. I spent my days walking along the beach, breathing in the fresh sea air and trying to heal the wounds of the past. It wasn't easy. The memories of Bronte, of our life together, still haunted me. But slowly, gradually, I started to rebuild my life. One sunny afternoon, while sitting on the beach, I met a woman named Rowena. She was an artist with kind eyes and a warm smile. We struck up a conversation, and I found myself drawn to her easygoing nature and infectious laughter. We started spending time together, exploring the local art galleries, hiking along the coastal paths, and sharing stories over cups of tea. I found myself laughing again, feeling alive again. Rowena didn't try to fix me, she just accepted me for who I was, flaws and all. I realized that life wasn't over, that even after the most devastating betrayal, it was possible to find love and happiness again. Bronte had taken a piece of my heart, but she hadn't taken it all. There was still room for someone else, someone who would cherish and respect me, someone who would never betray my trust. It took a long time, but I finally forgave Bronte, not for her sake, but for mine. I realized that holding on to anger and resentment was only hurting me. Letting go of the past was the only way to move forward. I never spoke to Bronte again, but I heard through mutual friends that she had left Crispin and was living a quiet life in London, working as a waitress. I didn't feel any pity for her. She had made her choices, and she had to live with the consequences. I married Rowena a year later in a small ceremony on the beach. Barnaby, now old and gray, was the ring bearer. As I looked into Rowena's eyes, I knew I had found my happily ever after. The pain of the past was still there, a faint scar on my heart, but it no longer defined me. I was Alaric, a survivor, a lover, a man who had found happiness again against all odds. And as the sun set over the Cornish coast, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold, I knew that everything was going to be all right. The storm had passed, and the sun was finally shining through. That was until I received a message from an unknown number. It was Crispin. He told me that the divorce wasn't legal and that Bronte was still his wife. He had been secretly paying her and she was playing me all along. I confronted her and she admitted it, saying she never loved me and was only after my money. I was devastated and didn't know what to do. I felt like my whole world was crashing down around me again. Rowena was there for me, as always, offering comfort and support. But this time, something was different. Her words felt hollow, her touch felt cold. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. I started to notice strange things. Secretive phone calls, hushed conversations, and a growing distance between us. It was all eerily familiar. One evening, Rowena told me she was going to an art exhibition in a nearby town. I offered to go with her, but she insisted on going alone, saying she needed some alone time. I decided to follow her. I know it sounds crazy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I parked my car a few blocks from the gallery and waited. An hour later, I saw Rowena emerge from the gallery. She wasn't alone. She was with Crispin. They walked hand in hand down the street, laughing and talking like old friends. They stopped in front of a small restaurant and went inside. I couldn't believe my eyes. Rowena, the woman I loved, the woman I had trusted with my heart, was having an affair with the man who had destroyed my life. I stormed into the restaurant, my anger boiling over. "Rowena!" I shouted, my voice echoing through the room. She turned around, her face pale with shock. "Alaric." "What are you doing here? Don't play dumb with me," I said, pointing at Crispin. "I saw you. I know what's going on." Crispin stood up, a smug look on his face. "Well, well, well," he said. "If it isn't Alaric, fancy meeting you here." "You," I spat, lunging towards him. "You're the reason my life is a mess." Rowena stepped between us, trying to calm me down. "Alaric, please let me explain." "Explain what?" I said, my voice trembling with rage. "Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could sleep with the man who ruined my marriage." She started to cry, begging for forgiveness, claiming it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. But her words were hollow, meaningless. The trust was broken, shattered beyond repair. "Again, I can't do this anymore," I said, turning away from her. "I'm done." I walked out of the restaurant, leaving Rowena and Crispin standing there, speechless. I drove back to the cottage, packed my bags, and left. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't leave a note. I drove through the night, not knowing where I was going, not caring. I just needed to get away, to escape the pain and betrayal. I ended up in a small town in Scotland. I found a job as a caretaker at a remote castle. I lived alone, surrounded by the rugged beauty of the Scottish Highlands. I never spoke to Rowena or Bronte again. I never saw Crispin again. I tried to forget the past, to move on with my life, but the scars of betrayal remained. They were a constant reminder of the pain I had endured, the love I had lost. I learned a valuable lesson. That trust is a fragile thing, easily broken. And that sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who are capable of hurting you the most. I don't know if I'll ever be able to love again. But I'm not giving up hope. I believe that somewhere out there, there is someone who will love me for who I am, someone who will never betray my trust. Until then, I'll keep living my life one day at a time. I'll keep exploring the world, meeting new people and learning new things. And who knows, maybe someday I'll find my happily ever after. But this time I'll be more careful. I'll be more cautious. And I'll never let anyone get close enough to break my heart again. I thought I could trust again, but it was a lie. It seems I'm destined to be alone, forever haunted by the ghosts of betrayal. The rain keeps falling and the storm inside me rages on. I decided to take a DNA test just to be sure. The results came back and revealed that Rowena was actually Crispin's sister. They had been plotting against me all along, wanting to take everything I had. I felt betrayed, deceived, and broken. I couldn't believe that I could be so blind. I confronted them both, and they confessed everything. They laughed in my face, saying that I was a fool to trust them. I was filled with rage and wanted to hurt them, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. I decided to leave and start a new life somewhere far away. I sold everything I had and moved to a small island in the Pacific. I changed my name and tried to forget about the past, but the memories still haunted me. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal and the pain of being deceived. I realized that I would never be able to trust anyone again. I spent my days alone, walking on the beach and staring at the ocean. I felt like a ghost, drifting through life without any purpose or direction. One day I met a woman named Isabella. She was kind and compassionate, and she seemed to understand what I was going through. We started talking, and I found myself opening up to her about my past. She listened patiently and offered words of comfort and support. She told me that I couldn't let the past define me and that I deserved to be happy. With Isabella's help, I started to heal. I learned to forgive myself for being so naive and trusting. I realized that I couldn't let the actions of others control my life. I started to focus on the present and to appreciate the simple things in life. I found joy in the beauty of the island and the kindness of the people who lived there. I eventually fell in love with Isabella, and we got married on the beach. It was a small and intimate ceremony, surrounded by our friends and family. I finally found happiness again, but I never forgot the pain of the past. It served as a reminder to be cautious and to never take anything for granted. I learned that even after the most devastating betrayals, it is possible to find love and happiness again. But it takes time, patience, and the willingness to let go of the past. Now, as I sit on my porch watching the sunset over the ocean, I am grateful for the life I have. I am grateful for Isabella and for the love that we share. And I am grateful for the lessons I have learned, even the painful ones. For they have made me who I am today, a survivor, a lover, and a man who has found peace in the midst of chaos.